in terms of the fascia and the communication on, especially all like the nerve endings on how the body communicates to the brain and brain to the body. How in depth do you go in terms of the mobility aspect related to maybe weight loss or just in athletic ability or long-term longevity?
As much as I need.
Fascia?
Yeah. So as much as I need to, meaning, so fascia is a tough one specific because you hear the word mobility and you think I'm doing my stretches, right? So that's like, we're talking more about actual fascial stretching. That is tough because what can get trapped in those fascial layers are pockets of energy, and they can be either incoherent or coherent. So if you had a childhood where you were abused for 20 years, there's a lot of incoherent memories that are stored in your fascia. So you can go do the Rolfing work or like real deep fascial work, like real where you're crying and bruising up, like that will release all of these emotions and you'll have all these memories be re-released. They'll stay literally energetically and chemically in your body until you release them and work through them. So there is a process of looking at the psychology, and there's even all the post or pre-birth trauma that can occur that can still bind up within fascia. And even crazier than that in babies, and this is really scary to say, but it's important for those mothers that do have children. If mothers have a lot of trauma during the gestational process, babies can come out with 50% less telomeres. So their telomeres they're being born with 50% less telomeres. So length, that 3' overhang is shorter. So they're already at a disadvantage. They can regain that, obviously, with all the technology we have, but the traumas of the past could really show up later on, not just with telomerase and telomeres, but also with fascia. And so when we're talking about this fascial conversation, I think it has to be twofold. It's not just the mechanical stimulation. It also has to be that working through of emotionals, really picking apart where you screwed up in life or where you were damaged and traumatic. I think they have to go hand in hand. So you can't do those very often. If you're doing those kinds of sessions with a practitioner, they'll be traumatic, right? So that could be a psychologist on one and then a sports, like massage therapist or rehab specialist on the other. So you could do them in the same session, different sessions, but it is something I look into once we start to see if there's a problem. And also you have to gauge it on the person. Certain people don't care, or they don't want to think about it. And if that's the case, I'll bring it up and I'll say, I'll put a pin in that. I'll bring it up in a couple months or a couple weeks. And you have to not push people to do things they don't want to do, because you have to make sure they're receptive. But normally, if we see those traumas, if we see the tight fascial issues, we'll address it right away. And then it's up to them if they want to go down that path or not.
Okay, I'm actually curious in this specific realm. Have you ever, and I know you're not licensed in like psychology, neither are we, but in terms of going into those specific memories, the session is happening of like the Rolfing, have you seen better effects to target both of those at the same time? Or with, I know you said with the sessions probably closer together, where have you seen better effects for most individuals related to the two?
So usually combine therapy with other things stacked on top of that. So Mott sees a coandolarian before those therapies, because what does it do? Mitochondrial communication. So mitonuclear communication, really. So you can allow mitochondria to talk to cells. So as you're mechanically breaking open the area, emotionally and psychologically talking about it, getting neurochemistry involved, this is where also certain doses of mushrooms or things of that nature can come in. I don't like to talk about those too much openly because they're very person, dose, and strain specific. So I try and shy away from that, but that's where those kinds of things can come in. There could be a bolus of some nootropics beforehand, like a pre-dose, high-dose Cellink to get more GABAergic activity, to be more anxiolytic. So you can make sure you're not fighting back from that. And you can also follow that up with something like more of coherence work with a pulse electromagnetic field therapy. So something like really high-powered PEMF work to regain the coherence from a cellular aspect. So yeah, stacking is an amazing combination, but people have to be ready. I've had a lot of people go through those, we'll say, procedures, whatever you want to call it, and they're tanked for days. It's very emotionally taxing.